Hi, guys. It's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. The cats ate my other earbud. All right. I got a second free pair upstairs. Yes, I do. Stupid cats. Oh, my God. They're killing me. So, today's a big day. You want to know why? Today is the verdict, I hope. So, the jury to this Texas A&M trial, the closing statements ended yesterday around 5:00 p.m. And the jury wanted to deliberate right away. The judge was like, no, you can deliberate tomorrow. And the jury was like, no, we want to deliberate right now. Judge says you're not allowed to be here after the court closes and all the security guards are going home. Jury's not allowed to be here. So you're going to have to come back today. So they're very excited to deliberate this case. So that's really scary for me because they don't warn you before they go live. And sometimes it's as fast as the judge turns the camera on and says, we, the jury, finds the defendant, blah, 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 guilty of negligence or whatever. And there's no time to record, which means I'm going to have to just record all day. That's fine. I can do that easy, except it doesn't automatically start when they live stream. I have to start it. So all day, I'm just going to be sitting there refreshing a page. And no idea how long they're going to take deliberating. And I know as soon as I go to the ladies' room, that's when they're going to say the verdict. But I'm going to work very, very, very hard to get this verdict today, guys. I really am. And who knows when it's going to be. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure it'll be in the paper too. So I did find out more information. TNT is the one that's getting sued. So we're going to hear Way Mechanical, we're going to hear TNT, and we're going to hear Burn Construction or something. They're all three. I think Burn Construction was the general contractor of the project. I'm not sure. I think they were the general contractor, and then Way Mechanical and TNT were subcontractors for this. I also found out who this is. I didn't know if she had a cold or if she was crying. She's definitely crying.
Administration. What's their role?
This lady right here, she is the plaintiff. She's his wife. So she is suing TNT. Sorry, I can't help it. This lawyer makes me laugh so much. He was getting up and objecting during the closing statements today. Oh man, not just him either. This guy can't keep his mouth shut. Sorry, Beck. What's wrong with Beck? Beck, are you okay? Please tell me Beck is okay. I'm going to have to go there. Oh, because you put a C in there? So extra letters you don't like all of a sudden? extra letters that are useless or offensive to you now. Then stop using you everywhere. For it. You have to type an extra letter. Anyway, I love Australians so much. I do. All right, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. Here we go, guys.
They have different federal regulations for different types of work that are performed. So they have general industry, and in this case, we would use the construction industry standards. And so there's a specific set of books, probably fill your library, of construction industry regulations, and they are federal law You have to follow them. If you violate them, you are in violation of federal law and will be fined or whatever. Okay.
Let's focus in on
I took the tags off of a pillow. That's what he's talking about. Those kind. So he's the expert that they brought in. We're listening to an expert now. We're not listening to anyone who was there that day or has anything to do with the project.
you also mentioned ASD.
ASME, American Society of Mechanical Engineers, who writes more detailed industry standards that are then approved by the American National Standards Institute as being compliant with all the doctrines that require standards to be written in a certain format. And then OSHA in turn sometimes incorporates portions of those by reference in OSHA, but more often they use those national consensus standards as a tool when they write a violation for a company. They will say there was a safer method of doing this, and this is OSHA has something called the General Duty Clause that says you have to use the most safe means in order to protect your employees. And they will show, look, there was a safer means because it says right here in ASB B30.5 that you should do X.
I guess I want to nail down with you. I'm sorry, I'm going off topic a little bit. The cantilever, you said that's a safer method, but I guess the real issue is, would it be unsafe, in your point of view, on this lift not to use a cantilever?
With what they were working with, yes.
Okay. So it's because there's no obligation to do it the absolutely safe way, is there? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I guess OSHA says we'll provide a safe workplace.
Okay.
I don't know, do you consider that an obligation? I think it is.
I'm probably not asking the question right. What I'm asking is there's a level of safety. Sometimes people go above it.
Sure.
The question is, with regard to this lift, this load under these conditions, would it be unsafe not to use a cantilever?
Sustain.
Ask you an ultimate question about safety. In this particular lift, would it be appropriate to not use a cantilever?
No, I don't think so because of the circumstances, the curb and so forth. I think that the cantilever was really the only safe option.
Any evidence that you've seen in your extensive review that Wade Mechanical had that knowledge?
No, Wade Mechanical apparently had a lot of jacks of all trades, but they didn't have qualified persons to do lift planning or to do safe rigging.
And since we talked about the extensive documentation in this case, you were hired when?
I believe it was in 2022.
Okay, and you've told us what you were hired to do. What is your hourly rate for doing this work?
Okay, for this job, I charge $450 an hour for my consultation work and so forth, travel, and $600 an hour to testify.
Can you give me an idea of how much time you spent on this matter?
Probably more than you want to pay for. I don't recall. A lot. I've been here for a week. I just don't recall.
Have you sent any bills to my firm?
I have.
Have they been paid?
I believe so.
Okay. Let's focus on this field safety guide. That's exhibit 25. Go to page 74. And this page talks about personal responsibilities, and it starts off with crane owners. Can we
Excuse
see
me.
that?
This is page 73, I believe. It says at the bottom.
Yeah, I apologize. I wrote put 74 on here.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the right page.
Leave it to us to make it more complicated.
Thank you.
On the page, it's based down 259. It has the responsibility of the crane owner.
Yes.
What's that first bullet point?
Says suitable and safe equipment is supplied and used to meet job requirements.
Now, is that particularly relevant in this case?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because and this, again, one of those areas I got to split hairs a little bit, but the crane has to be suitable to do the job, and it has to be safe. It has to be inspected, and it has to be in good condition, and it has to meet the job requirements.
I understand that, but why is that?
Well, because if it's not safe equipment, or if it's not inspected, or if it's not the proper tool for the job, you could have a safety issue.
Okay, but who says they didn't have the right crane? It seemed like the crane worked fine.
Right, and this is talking about the crane owner. So that was the suitable and safe equipment is the crane and the attachments.
Are you, okay, I guess I'm trying to figure out what
Sorry.
you're saying here. Are you saying they should have put a cantilever or not and didn't do so?
I don't believe that this.
Hold on. What is your objection? Sustained.
Trying to figure out why this is pertinent to this case. There's no issue that the crane didn't work.
I understand. Yeah, I do believe directly, I do believe that a cantilever should have been used. That should have been, since they were supplying the rigging equipment as well, I believe that they should have supplied the cantilever.
Okay. What about whether the crane itself and all of its attachments worked? Did they all work? Everything on the crane?
Oh, no, as a matter of fact, I heard a couple of times throughout the readings and being here this week that the anemometer, which is the wind gauge that's on the crane, was malfunctioning. And while there's, and if I may, while there's not a direct requirement says that you must have an anemometer on the crane, it does tell you in ASB P30 that you have to have a means of determining the wind speed.
Well, if you don't, your wind meter on the crane doesn't work, how do you determine the wind speed?
Well, the radar signal person up on the elevation could have had a handheld wind speed indicator. Often the buildings will have them on them. So it doesn't have to be on the crane, but you have to have a means of determining what the wind speed is.
Did you see that anybody made any effort to determine the wind speed before David LaRue was killed?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And he's not right there. He's not telling the truth. They don't have to have one of those working. They can, but it's not like that's not a law that they have to have one of those working.
Anybody from CFD, you reviewed the evidence, ever make any effort that you saw in determining wind speed?
Absolutely not.
Do you know if there were, in fact, anybody on the site that had a handheld wind meter?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know of any wind meter on any of the buildings?
Not that I'm aware of.
Have you seen any wind readings other than right after David LaRue was killed?
There were forecasts for winds that day, and there were the forensic readings that the meteorologist, Dr. Mitchell, presented.
Yeah, let's not focus on the forecast. I'm just wondering, did anybody take any readings at the site?
Oh, okay. I misunderstood the question.
It's not fault. Did anybody take any readings at the site that you're aware of before David was killed?
No.
How about after David was killed?
Yeah, there was somebody, but it was, I don't know exactly how long. I want to say 15, 20 minutes later, somebody took a screenshot of the wind at that time.
One guy testified he did it before David was even evacuated.
Yeah, that was the gentleman from Bern.
Okay, we looked at suitable and safe equipment supplied, and the responsibility of that is who?
That would be TNT crane and rigging.
And all that stuff is supposed to work appropriately.
Yes, of course.
Then the bullet point, all personnel have
Rat bastard.
authority and responsibilities. Is that significant at all?
Well, sure.
Why?
Because it's a complex operation, and not only does everybody need to know what their job is, they need to know who the other people on the job are that are performing what. So the lift director has to be designated and to provide a lift plan. The crane operator has to be designated and be qualified and certified. Now, the person in charge of the rigging operation needs to be qualified. And the person doing the signaling has to be qualified and designated so that everybody knows who's doing what. Because otherwise you just have chaos, and when chaos ensues, you tend to have unfortunate events.
Did TNT make sure that all personnel involved had clearly designated authority and responsibilities?
I don't believe so.
Let's go to site supervisor if we could, Carlos. And we're reading from TNT's field safety guide, are we not?
We are.
Let's go to site supervisor, please. Were you able to determine who was the site supervisor, at least with regard to this lift?
Okay. And excuse me, but they are two different things. The site supervisor is the lift supervisor. Okay. And it's the term I prefer to use just so we avoid confusion.
Yeah.
The lift supervisor was Manny. He was the superintendent.
Let me see.
Yeah, so Manny was the superintendent, yes. And Mario was the rigging supervisor. He was also
Jethro, were you operating a crane last night? Are you trying to wiggle out of your responsibility by blaming the storm?
at least in the area on site that day.
And let's focus on now their policy and what's supposed to be happening here. It sounds like you don't like the word site supervisor. Why?
Just because it's used differently in different documents, and I don't want to talk about the whole site. We only want to focus on the crane site.
But it uses site supervisor.
It does. I can't explain why they worded it that way.
Let's look at what the responsibilities are. Go down to the third bullet point. Tell me about that responsibility and if it's significant.
Okay, so this says all rigging personnel. So in my mind, that means all the personnel involved in rigging and unrigging this load are trained and experienced in establishing load weights, clearances, radii, and lift heights. And radii is the radius between the center line of rotation of the crane and the point.
So all you people who live in Texas, do you ever just have normal weather? It's always a storm coming through. Tornado, ice. Do you just have like, it rained last night?
Of the lift, the center line of the lift. So they have to be experienced in determining or in establishing, the clearances, the radius, the lift height, and selecting and inspecting the rigging gear and rigging any given load safely and securely.
Was the load in this case rigged safely and securely?
No, and I think that history will show that it absolutely was not.
Who was responsible? Who was the supervisor of that?
Well, on the ground, I believe that was Mario. And up in the air, Juan was the rigger present. He didn't hold the title of supervisor, but he was the rigger.
Let's look at the bullet point that starts the safety of rigging. Tell me if that's significant. Let's just want to now.
There you go. Yeah, the safety. Sorry, went away for a second. The safety of rigging and any other personnel, including general public, likely to be affected by crane operations, is not compromised in any way. So they're saying here in their manual that we have an obligation to protect other people that are not TNT employees who may be affected by the crane operations.
Did that occur?
I don't believe so.
Let's go to the next page, the duties of the crane operator. Let's focus on that first bullet point. The crane operator was employed by whom?
Okay, the crane operator must know that he or she is generally responsible for the safety of the crane's operation once the load has been lifted.
Crane operator was employed by whom?
Oh, by TNT.
Okay. And on this particular responsibility,
And that's why TNT's here. The person who operated the crane that day was an employee of TNT. That's why TNT is the one in this as a defendant. And remember, I know you don't remember because they didn't say it yet, but there are no other lawsuits right now against Wade Mechanical, Way Mechanical, or Byrne, the general contractors. She only has one lawsuit, and that's against TNT. So all they have to do to get out of this is blame it on the weather, blame it on Way, blame it on Byrne, or anything else. That's all they have to do is present enough doubt that maybe it wasn't their fault, maybe it was someone else's fault.
That would be on who?
The responsibility for the safety of the crane operation is on the crane operator.
If the load is still connected to the crane, is the crane operation still ongoing?
Yes, it is.
Is that important? I mean, I've never worked a job site like this. Is that important in your line of work as to whether the crane operation is going on or not?
Well, certainly, because if the load is still connected to the crane and a command is given to lift all or part of the load, that is a crane operation.
Okay. Once it's disconnected completely, the obligations of the crane operator, do they end?
Once it's disconnected and the gear is removed, yes.
Did that ever occur before David Lurie was killed?
No, it did not.
Let's look down at the third bullet point from the bottom. Focus on that. Tell me what that is and how, if it's important.
Basic rigging procedures and how to check load weights with site supervisor. Sorry. Crane operator, I had to go back and read the heading. Crane operator must know the basic rigging procedures and how to check load weights with site supervisor. So I think the important part here is he understands when he recognizes bad rigging, that's important. And it's also important that he actually has confirmation of the load weight, because a change in load weight can severely adversely affect the performance of the crane. And the problem with mobile cranes is they tend, when they're overloaded, to fall over or to collapse. And so it's a real serious problem. And so they need to know how much does that weigh and how much does every piece weigh. And they have a load chart. They can look up what they can lift, and they have a computer to verify. But the rigging procedures, they have to learn that by observing and potentially classroom training.
When you were looking at this case, were you looking to determine whether TNT followed its own policies and procedures?
I was.
Did they?
I don't believe so.
Did TNT have a wind policy?
They did, but the crane also had one. So the TNT had a general wind policy, which, and I don't recall, I believe it was 30 miles an hour that they shut down at. But sometimes the crane's wind restriction can be much lower because the crane's ability to withstand the wind without failure, without damaging the crane. What that didn't address, the policy didn't address, if I may add, is sail area. How big was the load and how much wind would it take to move that load? And when that load moves, not only is it a risk for tipping, as in this case, but it also is a risk for putting additional side load on the crane boom, which could cause the crane to fail. So it's very important, even though it didn't directly affect this, it's really important that it be followed.
Okay, well, let's turn over to the actual written policy. And maybe you can help us understand the difference between, if there is one, in the written wind policy and then the crane policy, I think you called it.
Yes.
What are we looking at here on page 94 of Exhibit 25?
I don't know yet. I can't read it.
The page number, the one off. It's 94. It's confusing. Let's go to the next, the page before that. There
Okay,
we call it 9 to 5, but it's really 9 to 4. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys.
okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay,
That's page 94, is it not there at the bottom left?
that is, and this page is titled Effects of Wind Loading.
Okay, now why is this important? If so, why?
Well, as I started to explain, and I didn't go into too much detail, wind affects what they call sail area. So the more area there is, the longer the boom, the bigger the load is, the more wind it will capture. Say, we'll call it wind per square foot. It's usually measured in square meters. That gets multiplied, and that load can cause all kinds of catastrophic events, such as boom collapses, such as crane falling over. I saw a crane fall over with a load on it. It was within the capacity of the crane, but barely. But a gust of wind blew the crane completely over. And that's why we have wind load requirements. And they're different for each crane because cranes are built differently. And so there's an overall 30 miles per hour, in my opinion, is pretty generous, you know?
What does that mean, generous?
It means that I don't think most crane manufacturers are going to allow to go any higher than 30 miles an hour, and some of them are less. Okay.
Make sure I understand what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So that is the upper standard, in my opinion.
Okay, because what we can see here, and correct me if I'm wrong, look at the last sentence, it's in parentheses of the first paragraph. Read that for us. It's in parentheses.
Okay. In most cases, it is advised that wind speeds exceeding 30 miles per hour is possible cause for stopping operations.
It doesn't say stop at 30 miles an hour.
No, it says it's possible cause.
In your view, tell us what you believe about a job site and crane operations above 30 miles per hour.
Okay. I believe a couple of things. I think one is you first have to confirm that the crane will allow you to go to 30 miles an hour. And you need to determine the wind speed at the area where the load is being lifted, because the wind on the side of the boom is much more important than the wind is against the side of the crane down on the ground. And the wind on the load itself is much more important than either of them because of that thing I talked about, sail area.
Let's look at that bullet point. You see that? Take that down, Carlos.
Terry,
see
thank
those
you
two
so
bullet points in the
much.
middle?
Thank you.
I do.
And then there's a sentence right below them. Could you help us understand what that means?
Certainly. It says a 20 mile per hour wind exerts a force of 36 pounds on an 8 foot by 4 foot sheet of plywood. Okay. And since I've not done the math, I'm not an engineer, I'm going to assume that means 36 pounds total force.
We're going to just real quick break in about Judge Fleischer. So Judge Fleischer's not streaming anymore on the other site now either. Although Juanita got a new microphone. It's not great, but it's better. So I'm going to be getting some Juanita Jackson since Judge Fleischer is not streaming. Now, guys, this probably isn't forever. Just, we'll see. We've seen Judge Dad stopped streaming and now he's back. Shackelford, I think, stopped streaming and now she's back. Who's the other one? Just like DeSantis stopped streaming and she's back. So, I mean, we're just going to take it one day at a time. Get Juanita. Terry, you really did get some good ones. Kit Kat. Yeah, that one. So, you know how these judges are. I don't know what that means for the billboard either. So I'm gonna pause. I text her all the time. Why, yes, I have, Fozzie. It's fine. It's their choice. It's just their choice, whether they stream or not. I swear I got Judge Reeves, just tiny piece of him just a couple days ago, and he stopped streaming. So you never know. You never know what Judge Fleischer's going to do. I think he's going to stream again. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. I think he is going to stream again. Juanita. Okay, Judge Juanita works right in the same building as Judge Fleischer. She's upstairs, apparently. Apparently, she's upstairs. Anyway. She's so good. She just is. She's so good. I'm going to start streaming her. She calls him David, which is hard for me to hear, but she's allowed. She's like, "Oh, David does this and David does that." So, we'll see. Maybe she can talk him into streaming again. Who knows? Who knows? We also have Victoria. We have Victoria in there. That Victoria is going to try when it's right, because it's his decision. His butt is on the line, and the decisions he makes affects him, a lot. So we can all say, I wish he would stream again. Oh, I wish he would stream again. But his job is on the line. His reputation is on the line. Ethics is on the line. Morals is on the line. So let him go. Let him work that out. I mean, we are looking at these people at the worst time of their life, and we are recording them, and we are using that as entertainment. So yeah, they're not wrong when they stop streaming. They're not wrong. Yes, we learn a lot. We do, and we should see our justice system. We should, but we also don't treat it always with the respect that it deserves. We see these people come in with a filthy animal hoodie, and we're all over that. So, just give him time. Let him work through this stuff. He has an election coming up. Yes, he does. He does. And he's been asked a lot. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say or what I'm not allowed to say. There has been a pressure for him to stop streaming because of the shorts. Because of, remember Bryant? Remember Judge Bryant when they put horns on her? Oh my gosh. She had an aneurysm. When someone put horns on her, devil horns on her, she went ballistic. And as long as YouTubers keep doing things like that, judges are going to be quick to say, yeah, I don't want no part of that. As long as they take little clips of, what they say out of context, like Bill streams the whole stream entirely. And, that's fine. He's not taking anything out of context. And, we make comments in chat, but as the content creator, he doesn't. But a lot of content creators who watch Judge Fleischer, they take snippets of things, and you've seen the shorts. You've seen how not professional they are. If you were a judge, and knowing that could happen, you're still going to stream. So I get it. I get why he stopped. He's under a lot of pressure, but I still think that he's going to stream again. I just think he is. So just relax. You have YouTube channels that are giving you content all day long of judges. There's all kinds of other judges. I'm also going to start streaming Eric Johnson a lot more because he wears a bow tie. No, he's really good. He is really good. So there's other judges out there. None of them are Judge Fleischer. Yes, I know. But we'll see. We'll just give him some time.
As opposed to
Stop when there's an objection, sir. Please stop.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
It's just speculation, it's response of these if it's someone else's report, but he says he doesn't know, I can only say.
Sustain.
Sir, what I wanted to do is,
The report be taken down.
it's not a report, this is their.
Can you let, Counselor,
Okay.
stop and let him finish and then you can respond.
I'll let him go.
Okay, so sustained as to the objection, you can proceed with the report.
Sir, what are we looking at right here?
We're looking at a page from the TNT safety manual.
Something that's in evidence
Yes,
that we've been talking about for 10 minutes?
yes,
Okay, did I put up a new report that he saw?
no.
Okay, let's focus here, please. Please, the question was the sentence below those 2 bullet points.
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm focused on.
Thank you.
Okay. What is the significance of that opinion?
Operators must be aware that the wind speed may only be 10 miles an hour ground level, but it could increase to 30 miles per hour at a height of 100 feet or more.
Okay. What is the significance of that, if any?
Oh, the significance is that the load is only on the ground until you start the lift. And the boom is already elevated when you start the lift. The load as it goes higher will be subjected often to higher wind speeds, which therefore would create more force acting against the load.
I guess what I'm trying to get it from your point of view as a crane operator, expert, really.
Sorry. Hold on 1 second, please. Okay. Okay. Sorry, you can proceed.
I'm down below in my crane cab and it feels windy. As a responsible crane operator, what steps, if any, do you take if you're working for TNT and you're following their policy?
I'm either going to look at the anemometer, which will tell me the wind speed at the other end of the boom,
Does it work?
but if it's not working, I'm going to radio the person up on the elevation and ask them to tell me what their handheld unit, if they have one, is reading.
If they don't have one.
Then I'd ask what information do you have from the building site or some other, but you need to have some means of determining that wind speed.
What if you don't have it?
You shouldn't be lifting.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, guys. And I'm going to say he's lying. Like, he has not checked the wind speed on every single lift that he's done. He just hasn't. He has not. If it was very windy, he probably did. But a lot of those cranes didn't even have those anemometers or whatever they're called until recently. So, I mean, I just think that he's the expert. That's why they put him there, so he can give the absolute correct answers. But I don't know if you've never worked on a construction site before, or in a garage, or in a printing press, or on a factory floor. There are rules that are written down, and then there's the way everybody does their job every day. And everybody does their job every day in a way that's most efficient to get things done. Yeah, the rules are there as suggestions, but on a real construction site, in a real everyday, I mean, even me, in my stupid job, there's rules. For example, I'm not allowed to have a cup of a drink without a lid on it where I work. In a restaurant, servers, cooks, dishwashers, you're not allowed to have a cup without a lid on it because it's a health code violation. And, you know, maybe it is a health code violation because it's easier to spread norovirus or whatever. Do I ever have a cup without a lid on it? Yes, I do. Not often, but I do. All of us do sometimes. So that's what I mean. There are rules, and there are rules that are there for a reason to protect people, but there's also the way that people actually do their jobs. And he doesn't check the wind speed for every single lift. He just doesn't.
Is this acknowledgement that if there's wind down below, it might be a lot more up top side?
Absolutely.
Did you see any evidence that anybody made any effort whatsoever to determine the wind top side?
No, I did not.
According to TNT's policy, were they supposed to?
Well, it says here that they need to be aware. But there are national standards to say they need to know what it is.
Let's go to plaintiff's exhibit 27. Have you, 27? You tell them. We're gonna go to plaintiff's 27. We're gonna figure out what page they're going to. This section of their policies dealing with job safety analysis.
So section 26. Make sure they have motion for their stuff is followed. Gotcha.
You gonna get that? Okay. All right, sir, on the screen,
There is no single universally adopted standard from ANSI to determine wind speed restrictions for crane operations. There's a general guideline that crane operations should be halted when wind speeds reach 20 miles per hour or higher. But again, there is no single universally adopted standard from ANSI.
plaintiff's exhibit 27, it's base stamp TNT 1063. You see at the top what the title of this document?
Safe operating guidelines.
Okay, and then specifically there in the left side, can you tell me what that says?
Okay, just switched. Job safety analysis.
Okay, are you familiar with the way you're supposed to do a job safety analysis?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I want.
OSHA says 40 miles per hour. 64.4 kilometers per hour, which is 40 miles per hour, is what OSHA says. And I don't know which one is better, like which one has more legal authority, OSHA or ANSI. They're both, you're supposed to listen to both of them, and they're both saying two different things. So, yeah, I think I think this guy's a little wrong.
Focus on responsibilities in that process. We've heard about it multiple times, so let's just hit the high points. The responsibilities of the supervisor or lead operator.
I don't think so, because I believe that the defense attorneys to these people, ANSI, the defense attorneys to these people are all protecting their clients, and they do not want their clients live streamed to the world. When for these cases, especially, what the worst is when we have someone who gets in front of the judge and they were, domestic violence. Let's just say domestic violence. They were accused of domestic violence. And then 2 weeks later, that case is dismissed. It's dismissed. They did not get convicted of domestic violence. However, they were live streamed. The accusation was live streamed. And now that's all over the internet. And people are watching it and people are sharing it, and it's getting 100,000 views when there is no case. It was dismissed. It's not going to show up in their record for the rest of their lives, but it's going to show up on the internet for the rest of their lives. So the defense attorneys are doing their job, and they are trying to protect their clients from that. And they're not wrong. So, but however, they are wrong, because criminal courts are public. They're not private. So we should be allowed and it's not public for educational purposes. It's not public for, you know, any reason. It's public, and as a citizen, I can do whatever I want with that information. It's public information. You know what I mean? So if I want to rag on it, I can rag on it. If I want to joke about it, I can joke about it. So they sort of are wrong. So morally, ethically, they're right. Legally, they're not right at all. So you know, it's up to the judge. It's up to the judge to wade through all of that sticky stuff. And I saw online, I think it was in my Discord, that someone showed a picture of the cards that the defense attorneys are handing out to their clients or anybody that goes into that courtroom. Hey, you're being live streamed. Like, they're handing out cards to people saying you're being live streamed. Make the judge stop the live stream. So they're really putting a lot of pressure on the judge. And the judge has to weigh that with, you know, everything else. And the easiest way to handle this, easiest way for the judge to handle this is to stop live streaming.
Let's focus on those. We looked at a job safety analysis that was done for the lift before David LaRue was killed. You recall reviewing that?
Yes,
You recall who was responsible for that, leading that analysis?
TNT was responsible.
You recall who specifically from TNT was responsible that led that job safety analysis?
I believe it was Ben Kenkel.
The crane operator.
Yes.
You see the responsibilities of that person with regard to that particular job safety analysis?
You do?
Did Mr. Kinkle conform his conduct to their own policy when he performed that analysis?
He did not.
Tell me where he messed up.
Well, I think that he did not ensure that all employees, including but not limited to client employees are involved in the development of the process prior to the job starting.
Explain.
Well, I don't think that the gentleman from Way Mechanical and Way Engineering were.
Don't worry, Bill. I'm going to find you a good judge equal to Judge Fleischer. It might take me a little bit, but I'm going to find you one.
Included in the JSA process as far as determining what the hazards were and having any involvement. Some of them may have heard the JSA when it was read to them, but I don't believe they were involved in the development of it, but not all of them heard it.
Well, let's look. I mean, there was, according to his own document, there were no people from Way involved in it, were there?
It's just, I thought objection meeting.
Sustained, as to Counselor, stop. This is the third time today he's objected to sidebar. Stop sidebar with the sidebar. Just ask your questions, please.
Sidebar I said, but I will try to stop that.
Thank you.
Plaintiff's exhibit 21. Let's go to page 2. And pull up the people that participated in this job safety analysis. And sir, I just want you to point out for the jury how many people from Way Mechanical participated in that.
It looks like it's from TNT and P&H Mechanical, but not Way Mechanical.
Okay, so how many from Way Mechanical participated in the job safety analysis that we're talking about?
No,
How many people from Way Mechanical participated in the JSA that, let me try this one. How many people that were up on the 4th floor from Way Mechanical participated in this job safety analysis?
I'm not.
Just so you know, Texas A&M had a bonfire, had a crane for a bonfire. I think it was back in 2013. And one of the workers died. This was a completely different one. I think he fell. I think he fell to his death this time. And I'm not sure about the total amount, but I think it was $53 million that the contractor had to pay the wife or the family of the victim. And these are not the only 2 deaths on Texas A&M property of workers. I said when I first put this case up, I said Texas A&M's worst day. No, I mean, they've had a couple worse days that I only found out after. Walter, hello.
Not at all.
Now let's go back to plaintiff's exhibit
Excuse
27.
me, I stand corrected except for one.
But one worked for whom?
TNT.
I was asking about the people on the 4th floor from Way Mechanical.
Okay.
How many people participated from Way Mechanical that were on the 4th floor?
And none of the people on the 4th floor from Wade Mechanical, I apologize.
Now, when we look at the policy then, I want to focus on the last bullet point. Can you explain to us whether TNT followed their policy with regard to JSAs?
I don't believe so,
Why not?
because I think in this situation, client employees should include Way because they were involved, they were in the fall zone, in a critical lift and weren't included in the JSA process.
Who was TNT's client in this case?
Way Mechanical.
And who were the Way Mechanical employees?
By name?
So Byrne Construction was the general contractor. They were overseeing the entire project. Okay. Then there's a lot of shell companies. So they had the pipe layers and they subcontracted that work out to the pipe layers. And then they had the lifts and they have the air conditioning unit. I mean, they have subcontractors to do everything. They probably have drywall. They probably have paint. They have acoustical ceilings and the floors, electrical. So probably a lot of companies. There's only 3 involved with this. Byrne, the general contractor, Way Mechanical, which is the owner of the thing that was being lifted. I think it was an air conditioning unit. And then TNT, which is the owner of the lifts to lift it up.
I'm just general.
Okay. They were, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
The policy specifically references client employees. Are we talking about Way's employees?
Yes,
Okay. So according to the JSA, did TNT have an obligation to include Way's employees in their job safety analysis?
they did.
Did they do that?
They did not.
I see, but I can't play that now in the middle of a stream.
I have heard this phrase called critical lift. Can you tell us what it is?
Absolutely. When you're making a lift with lifting equipment such as cranes, they're generally classified into either a standard lift or a critical lift. And a critical lift, a lot of people will define as anytime you're loading the crane or the rigging gear over 75%, but more importantly, when there's hazards to the personnel involved in the lift, potential for monetary loss, tight areas that you're working in, potential for failure. These things always elevate the level of the lift to critical. If you're lifting personnel or lifting load over personnel, it's always considered a critical lift. And there's a guideline called ASME P30.1, which helps you determine whether a lift is critical or not.
Based on your review of the evidence, was the lift involved in this case, in your view, a critical lift?
There's no question in my mind.
But what's your answer?
I'm sorry. There's no question in my mind that it was,
Why?
because the load was unstable, had a high center of gravity, a high potential for falling. There were people allowed to be in the fall zone.
That's only half true. It didn't have a high center of gravity. It had a side center of gravity. And yeah, people were not supposed to be in the fall zone. They were, but they weren't supposed to be.
It was a windy day. There was an
It wasn't
inadequate
windy.
lake plan. I think all of those things add to the, excuse me, the criticalness of the load.
Well, if you've determined it was a critical, look at what
Did you ever see that helicopter lift? They were taking this real old lady out of the desert or something. I don't know, the canyon. Maybe it was the Grand Canyon. I don't know. But she was elderly, and they lifted her, and she started to spin, and she started to spin faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And no one, every time they tried to do something to stop her from spinning, it just got faster and faster. Did you ever see that? It was horrifying. She's okay, but that was the worst helicopter lift I've ever seen. I'm not going to play it here because it was horrifying to me.
would be done differently in that respect.
When you have a critical lift, the standard of care in the industry is to have a documented lift plan that includes a rigging plan that is detailed, tells you the gear that you're going to use, the equipment you're going to use, how you're going to attach it, who's going to do what, which people are responsible for what, who will be the lift director, who will be the crane operator, the signal person, the riggers, and everybody is called out by name. And then the process is detailed from step by step, from beginning to end.
Did they have any of those elements in any sort of lift plan?
No,
Was this lift that killed David Laree treated as a critical lift?
not at all.
Should it have been?
It absolutely should have been.
Were there any lift plans that you reviewed?
There were.
I want to focus in on one of those, plaintiff's exhibit 18. And if we could turn Carlos to page 7.
This is only to see if TNT is responsible.
One more over, Carlos, please. This page, Carlos. It's 10. Looking at page 10 of plaintiff's exhibit 18. Is this an appropriate lift plan?
No, this is a software that crane companies use as a sales tool to show why you need a certain size crane to do a job. And it has some of the basic information, but it is certainly not a lift plan. And even if it were, it's not appropriate for putting the air handler into the building. This is showing dropping a box onto the roof of a building, possibly an air conditioner or something like that. It's not a lift plan. I know it says lift plan on it, but it's not a lift plan.
Is the crane that appears in what is titled a lift plan, is that the crane that was used?
This is a stick figure that pretty much represents most of the cranes, but I don't believe it is. I can't see the writing. I can't read that, but this picture doesn't seem to represent the exact crane. It's a similar type of crane.
So I'm going to pull that up to help you determine whether
Thank you.
either the crane that they listed in their so-called lift plan is the actual crane that was used.
No, it is not.
Okay. You had told us previously the load was 5,193 pounds. Is that listed in this so-called lift plan?
No, it does not list that number.
Your review of the evidence, did you determine who created what they call in this lift plan?
This was created by TNT using their salesperson. I can't think of his name at the moment. The salesperson created this to show, yeah, we have a lift plan, but it didn't represent the actual lift. Brian Duchette, thank you. I could not recall his name.
Do you know whether Brian Duchette was a qualified or certified crane operator?
I believe he was not.
What was his role, at least the best you could tell from their evidence?
He was a salesman.
In the lift plan, are there listed individuals who would serve as the crane operator?
There should be one person serving as a crane operator. Yes, should be listed in the lift plan.
In this lift plan here, I know you don't consider it a lift plan, but in this lift plan, did they list people who would be the crane operator for this lift?
I don't see an operator there.
Okay, let's turn to page base stamp 139, same exhibit. Do you see, tell me what you see on this page.
I see a certification card for a James Cunningham, but that is not who was operating the crane.
Sir, what kind of certification?
That is a certification as a crane operator from the National Commission for the Certification of Crane Operators. So he has taken and passed the test as of 2020.
You got this, girl.
But,
You got this.
and for several, I see 4 different kinds of cranes.
Just Google it.
But that is not the person who was involved in this lift at all.
Go over 2 pages, Carlos. Tell me what you see there. One thing.
And I would give you the same response with a different certification date, but Brian Sternberg was not the crane operator that was on that job.
Now,
It's rigged.
general contractor asked for a lift plan, is that right?
Yes,
This is what was provided.
yes.
Is this the lift plan? I know you don't consider it even a lift plan, but was this what was used for this lift?
No, not at all.
Did you review the testimony of the crane superintendent when he was asked about this so-called lift plan?
Yeah, and I recall that he gave some sort of an answer like, that's just paper or something, that it wasn't important.
Or is a lift plan important?
Oh, absolutely. It's critical.
Why?
Well, because as we discussed earlier, you have to plan the lift. You have to determine the equipment that's going to be needed, the people that are needed to do it, and the steps that you have to follow to perform the lift safely. And this did none of those. It showed a nice sales picture. It might as well have been a color brochure that they used for everybody and just changed the name of the job.
Let's look at another document that's titled Lift Plan, Plaintiff's Exhibit 17. Now, this document also has at the top the words lift plan. From your point of view as a crane and rigging expert, is this a lift plan?
It's a start of one.
Explain.
I don't think it's complete enough. It doesn't have all the information.
What information is it lacking?
Well, it's lacking the weight of the spreader beam that they actually used. It's lacking the weight of the chain falls. It's lacking the steps to be taken. It's just filling in the numbers inaccurately at that, but it doesn't give you a plan. It just gives you a page to look at the weights, which are not accurate, and to look at what the job is. And they have the signatures of the people that are going to be involved, but you can't read most of it. It's so difficult to read that I'm not sure what value this would be.
Well, I mean, what is the purpose of filling out documentation like this on a work site?
Well, that might be a good starting point for a lift plan. This might be what you fill out to determine what you need to do the job, and then you make the lift plan from this.
What is the purpose of keeping documentation on a work site? Why do you need paperwork?
Well, for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, you need to have a way of communicating that everybody can understand the same job the same way, and everybody knows what their job and responsibilities are. And verbal communications are not always the best. If you ever played pass it down the line, it doesn't always work out very well. So it's important to have something that people can pick up and look at, because if you told me every number that was on this page, maybe it's my age, but I probably would forget half of it by the time I got to do the job in the afternoon. So documentation is important for that reason, but also in the event that something happens, you want to be able to show we did the right things, or we did not do the right things in some cases.
Did they do the right thing in this case?
I don't think so, not at all. The just looking at the load weight alone, which was 1,200 pounds, almost 1,200 pounds underweight, and they didn't list specifics for the spreader beam and for the chain falls. This is not even an adequate start.
Carlos, could you pull up, under the words lift plan, those blanks there, those 3 or 4 blanks? So we can see that. Can you see that, Mr. Decker?
Very clearly.
What is the date of this lift plan?
That is the day of 9/22/2021.
And who is listed as a customer?
It says Way. It's the customer.
All right. I want to go down. You've already mentioned that the load is wrong, correct?
Yes.
And let's go down to the bottom where it's that entire pre-lift checklist plus the signatures. Now, is there any issue that you've seen in your review of this document with regard to the pre-lift checklist?
That says crane daily inspection, current monthly inspection, and previous monthly inspection in the crane, and yet we know that the anemometer was not working. That should have been noted on the pre-lift checklist, or at least on the inspection sheet. And if you're going to put something on the inspection sheet that is deficient, I'm not sure that you would want to check the box that, okay, that's been taken care of.
And then specifically, it looks like there's signatures of 3 individuals here at the bottom. Can you see that?
Yes.
The person with the left operator, Ben Kinkle,
Yeah, it's Ben Kenkel.
and then there's 2 people signed off as riggers for this lift.
Okay, I see Juan Garcia. The one on the left is totally illegible.
Based on your review of the evidence, did anyone from Way Mechanical sign this lift plan?
No, they did not.
And then you had mentioned the inspection, real quickly, explain exhibit 2.
And again, that's not the lift plan they used that day. So it's okay that no one signed that.
Is this the inspection you're referring to?
Mr. Bergman, can you bring him a little water? He seems to be choking. Yeah. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Oh, he
Thank you.
has some?
Oh, yeah, he's got a bottle of water.
Sorry.
Yeah,
He seems
got
to be
allergies.
joking.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, but you're okay, right?
I'm okay. Thank you so much, though.
Go ahead, Mr. Bergman.
Thank you. Look at bullet point or number 6, please. Electrical system, battery, and instrument gauges. Check for malfunction. You see that?
I do.
Now, if you have a wind meter on your boom of your crane that didn't work, either malfunctioning or your Bluetooth wasn't working, is this where you would make that notation?
Possibly. And the reason I say possibly is sometimes it is a separate gauge. Sometimes it's built into the
I
load
just
moment
see your
indicator
Hawkeye
computer
from
screen on the dash.
Just
So
Hawkeye.
if it was a separate gauge, I would notate that here. And if there's no place for the LMI on the sheet, then I would note it here and just make a note that it's part of the LMI.
Is there any standard that requires crane operations to maintain an ability to detect wind speed?
Yes.
What is that?
The ASME P30 says that you have to, or that, I don't remember, it's B30.5, I guess, for mobile cranes. And I apologize, I'm citing the wrong number there. A lot of numbers in my head at the moment. Says that you have to have the ability to determine the wind speed. It doesn't say specifically.
This is just court. This is just court because a man died. This is just court for millions and millions and millions of dollars. You can just make shit up. Just pick any number you want.
It has to be part of the crane. You just have to have it on the job site when you're doing the work.
The TNT have that ability based on your review of the evidence.
No, they did not.
Will make any effort to even determine this.
No. Several people from TMT didn't notice the wind.
Can't hear you.
Said several people from TNT said they didn't notice any wind, but there were other people that were that noticed quite a bit of wind.
All right, will this be a good time for a break? Or no?
Are you done with the witness counsel?
No.
No.
People keep asking for a break here. I just want to-
Oh,
Oh man, if I was TNT, so if I was TNT, I would be blaming the wind all day, all night. I would just say the wind did it, the wind did it, the wind did it, the wind did it. TNT, the one that's on trial here, the ones that's saying, I don't remember any wind.
people are asking for a
I'm the
break.
jury. I'm not paying attention. I'm not shooting.
You guys need a break? Yeah. All right, they need a break. This is a good time for a break. We're gonna take a 10-minute recess. 3:02, we'll come back at 3:12.
TNT.
All right.
Again, this is the wife. She's the plaintiff. This is TNT's crack team of lawyers. Now, we've been listening. It's been boring today because we've been listening to a real lawyer talk. Don't worry. This guy's up next. Good enough.
One in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to wait for this guy to come back. I don't know how much she's asking for, but if they win, she's gonna get a lot. If they win. I don't know. The jury is, what time is it? What time is it there? It's 4:49 in the morning in Texas. The jury, okay. So the way juries deliberate is the judge says you have to be back here tomorrow, which is today at 9 o'clock in the morning. So Houston time, it's 4:49 right now. The jury has to be there at 9 a.m. And that's the only rule. The jury is allowed to take as many breaks as they want. They're allowed to take off for a couple hours. They're allowed to set their own schedule for deliberating. They can deliberate for 1 hour a day if they want. They set their own schedule for deliberating. And then they tell the judge when they're done. Now, I'm hoping that this is going to be a quick decision, only because when the judge stopped, when the opening statements were done yesterday around 5 p.m. Texas time, and the judge tried to get the jury to go home, they did not want to go home. They said, no, we want to stay. We want to deliberate right now. And the judge was like, no, we're going home. If the courthouse is being closed, you're not allowed to be here if the courthouse is closed. And the jury's like, no, we want to stay and we want to deliberate. So the judge told these lawyers right here, they are not allowed to go. They have to be here at 9 o'clock today. And they're not allowed throughout the day to go any more than 10 minutes away from the courthouse. So all of these lawyers have to stay within 10 minutes of the courthouse all day. I don't think they're going to be deliberating long. All of them married? I don't know. I do not support. Anyway, here we go. We need to wait for this guy to get back. Let's fast forward it till he gets back. Our no socks guy, our star of the show. Who was he talking to? Was that the other lawyer there? Hold on. He's clearly talking. Is he sitting like on the edge? Oh, they didn't want to go home. They must have been married. I get it now because you explained it. But no, I get it now. I'm going to rewind it because he's talking. I don't know where that attorney is. Good enough. This is good enough.
Issues with regard to TNT that may have contributed to this incident. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
And in order to accomplish that task, what specific items were most pertinent to you to look at?
I think all of the information was pertinent.
Okay.
But I think that
All information is
the
pertinent.
depositions
Oh,
and the lift plans, that the things that were called lift plans, were important to me to determine cause. The photographs were very helpful in determining the causes.
Did you review the witness statements that were made within hours of this happening?
I did.
Did you review the various companies involved who made their assessment about why this occurred?
Yes.
Did you evaluate and review those when you were determining what, if anything, TNT did to contribute to this?
Yes,
Did you review a police report in this case?
I did.
Was that something that assisted you in your job?
It did.
All right, approach the witness.
Yes, you may.
Show you claims exhibit 84. Could you confirm that 84 is the police report in this case?
Yes, this is the police report.
Is this a document that you reviewed?
Yes, it is.
Did it assist you and
They do not blame the victims of negligence at all. I mean, maybe they might have mentioned that they shouldn't have been in that area maybe once or twice in passing, but no one talks about the victims and why they were there. I mean, a little bit. They will touch on it a little bit, but they don't blame the victims. And it's mostly the wind and the crane operator. The crane operator gets it the most. Also, I'm sure, I don't know, but I really think that the jury's going to decide the amount awarded, if anything. Again, they're still deliberating, so nobody's been found guilty yet. But the reason I say this is because we're gonna see we're gonna see her children, or at least one of them, come on stand and describe their father and what he meant to him in their daily lives and things like that. So, and the absence of him, what it means to them. So I think they're going to have the jury, award. You know how sometimes they have the judges award any damages? I don't think so in this suit.
in reaching your conclusions and opinions in this case?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And then attached to this, is there a deposition on written questions where questions were answered under oath? On the first
No,
page.
I think they had a little orange flag up on
Some
the
depositions on
building.
written questions and
Oh,
certified.
okay. I didn't know what you meant.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we offer and provide copies, please.
How much you want to bet? I don't know because I fast forwarded it. A windsock, yeah. They had a little windsock. How much you want to bet? Because look, this lawyer just came in now and missed all of that. And this guy's not here. How much you want to bet the judge said, screw it. The defense lawyers aren't going to come back on time. We're going to go forward without them. It's not. I love that you're green. It's sad, but it's not overly.
Your Honor, we offer claims exhibits 84, tendered to opposing counsel and report.
Any objections from defense?
I object that he didn't hand them to me correctly, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
At this time, exhibit 84 is accepted and admitted into evidence.
To focus on some things that you reviewed, one of which is claims exhibit 84, and if we put Carlos Turner, page 6. There's a narrative here. Bring up the narratives, you can see. And we agree this is the narrative of the beginning of investigation by the police officers who responded to this incident.
It is?
I want to focus your attention on this paragraph here, the second paragraph in the narrative.
Counselor, let me stop you. What's the objection?
That's
not what we were handed.
That's not what we have either. I don't have that. What is that? I don't know what this is.
Exhibit 84.
My police report is from Texas 85. I have exhibit 85.
I handed her the wrong one.
You have exhibit 85? Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Yeah, I have exhibit 85 as well.
Mr. Kim has no idea, Judge. He's standing there because he's absolutely confused right now. Sit down, counsel.
Defense, you have any objection to this exhibit? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hearsay within.
Sustain.
Let's figure out, I mean, approach.
Here.
Not an argument, I just want to approach.
Yep, you can come up.
This was offered and accepted into evidence, so I just want to figure out how to fix that. Apparently,
No, I accepted what we thought was, are you saying my previous rule?
no, I'm not arguing about it. I just want to make sure we get the record right. I offered 84.
And you gave us
I know I
85.
handed something that said 85.
So 84 is not admitted into evidence because clearly,
I'm not arguing.
oh, okay, we'll fix it. Okay,
I'm not arguing.
all right, go ahead.
84 was offered into evidence. The court accepted 84.
Correct.
Okay, but the court was handed 85 and the council was handed 85. There's no objection. So what I'm trying to do now is the court obviously looked at 84, thought it was 84, but he marked 85 and accepted it. So I want to make sure that the court's position is that 85 is in evidence.
Keep
84 is in
coming.
evidence,
Little
or
closer.
nothing?
85 is
85
accepted
is
and
closer.
admitted into evidence.
And 84 is not.
84 is not.
Okay, that's all I was trying to do.
Okay, thank you.
His button on his suit earlier today or
Okay, did you
yesterday
review
are worse. They're like
the
cheap
police
buttons.
report?
I did.
I don't want you to tell us what it said, but I want you I'm asking you whether it was consistent or inconsistent with your opinion as to what caused this.
It was consistent.
Okay. Now, did you review the statements that were taken immediately following this incident?
I did.
Let me finish my question.
I'm sorry.
Make sure the record is perfectly correct, okay? Did you review the statements that were given immediately following the incident that killed David Lurie?
I did.
Let's look at plaintiff's exhibit 46. Page 3, please. Did you review the information that sets forth from Ben, who is Ben,
That is the crane operator for TNT.
that his wind meter was not working?
That's correct.
Is that consistent with what you concluded?
That is correct.
Is that a problem?
That is a problem.
Why?
Well, because you have to have a means of determining the wind speed.
Let's go to page 6 of exhibit 46. You see the third bullet point from the top.
Yes.
What does it say?
Wind gust. Unit. Tipped.
Okay.
I think that says.
Now, have you ever seen any documentation throughout as you're doing your investigation to determine what, if anything, TND did to contribute to this, that said that the unit blew over? Like that the wind was the complete cause of it blowing over?
No, I think that a lot of testimony was that the wind gusted and the unit tipped over. I don't know that the wind was the sole cause.
was this, what we see here on the screen, which is page 6 of exhibit 46, consistent with what you concluded in this case?
Yes,
Let's go to plaintiff's exhibit 55.
I was wondering that
Page
same
3.
thing.
In the middle, last sentence. Is this information that you reviewed to come to your conclusions?
yes, that is consistent.
The wind came and that is when the unit fell over. That's consistent with your opinion?
Yes, it is.
What is your opinion based on your knowledge, skill, training, and experience and your review of all the documents in this case, in addition to the depositions and statements? Why did this unit fall over?
Because the unit was top heavy or unstable. It was rigged in a manner that did not prevent unintentional displacement of the load. In other words, it wasn't controlled. It was lifted from below the center of gravity. And when you have an unstable lift like that, and when the operator was picking up the load, one end was already set onto the skates. The other end, the operator was picking up. The wind blew at the same time, and the unstable load could not stay upright.
The condition that at the time that gust came, was the condition of that unit make it more susceptible to wind?
Absolutely, the way the unit was constructed, but also the way that the unit was rigged. And
Let's go to exhibit 59, page 3. There's a sentence here that says it got knocked over by the wind. Do you agree with that as written? It got knocked over by the wind. If you could bring that sentence up, you're right on top of it.
okay, yeah, I see it.
Speculation. He didn't do any calculations. We heard from Dr. Mitchell, who only did wind force and no calculations on what would be necessary to knock it over.
You have a response, Mr. Leslie.
I think he's going to find that he doesn't necessarily agree with this. I think it's going to help me. He'll let the witness answer. He's not
Every
here
single
to
sentence that was
testify
stated.
about wind force. He's here to testify about what caused this. And he's designated on that.
But if he's talking about, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Kim.
He's talking about wind as a causative factor. He hasn't done the calculations. Basis.
I'll sustain the objection. No, the objection sustained.
That's the question for the record because you've already allowed him to testify about the cause and that was wind was always part of the cause. So,
Mhm.
sir, did you determine whether wind contributed in any way to the stand falling over?
Same objections.
Sir,
Hold up.
I'm sorry.
sustained.
Let me make an honor proof since you've already ruled on this before, Your Honor.
Can we,
It's in his report.
I don't want to deny the proof.
I agree with the plaintiff on this one. He is an expert, so he is supposed to give his expert opinion. And that's not speculation. That's his expert opinion.
We do have present.
Yes, I'll ask that the Deputy Perry, just for purposes of today, I'm gonna excuse the jury for today. So what ruling I make, and then we'll go into Monday. As it's 3:30, I did say I would end early today. To the jury, you're reminded you shouldn't talk amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subjects connected to this case or this trial. Do not do any independent research or form any expressed opinions. You will have a weekend recess. And so I don't want you to be concerned with this case over the weekend. No research. Please come back to see us Monday. Remember, this is your instruction until the end of trial. I'll ask you to return Monday at 9 a.m. Enjoy your weekend. You're excused.
All right.
No research is not a problem because this made almost zero news coverage. Zero. I can't find anything about this trial at all in the news. But maybe I just didn't look in the right spot, but I looked.
Him and my mom and my brother. And there ain't nobody out there in the world that
This is 5 days later, so they had the whole weekend off. So this is the April 29th.
is gonna love us,
Thank you,
care
Jen.
for
Thank
us
you,
like
thank
we
you.
can for each other.
So there were some notes we saw that are in evidence where dad was cursing like they did. Remember those notes were, does that sound like him? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To push my dad to that level, you would have to be screwing up so bad that somebody was gonna, either you're gonna hurt somebody or you were gonna hurt him. I mean, you would have to push him to
So this is the testimony. Where'd she go? The mom's gone. Is that the mom right there? I don't know who this person is. No idea. But the son is on the stand right now.
such a degree. It wasn't just something, he didn't just let that attitude, that wasn't his normal attitude. You
He's
know,
not a guy that typically goes around and like screams at people and curses.
no, not at all, not at all. Everything's going good, everybody's safe. And he's got no reason to get to that point. You know, when he sees something wrong, people do it, in like that case, something was going, it was that bad.
I mean,
That tells me a lot.
For instance, when you would, and again, maybe I'm projecting here, but when you would screw up as a kid, is he the kind of guy that would scream at you, put his hands on you, or how did he handle things like that?
Oh, no, when I was a kid, he spoke up, he spoke directly. And if I was trying to grab a toy out of my brother's hand, he'd say, no, that's Cody's. Get it to Cody. When I was a kid. And then when I got older, growing up, he definitely talked a lot more directly and stern. And I'm not a perfect person. I have screwed up really bad, and I needed my dad to. He never got on me like what we saw in there to that kind of degree.
That's a complicated question because on the day of the lift, okay, first the lift was delayed 14 days. All right. So I think at first they had 120-ton lift scheduled to bring up this air conditioning unit. But as construction projects go, this one was delayed 14 days. Well, the 120-ton lift was no longer available, so they had to pull in 160-ton lift. Now, the person certified to operate the 120-ton lift was not certified to operate the 160-ton lift. So the original lift plan had this smaller lift with this other crane operator. And since it was delayed, they had to get a different lift and they had to get a different lift operator. So that first lift plan that they had set up was thrown out the window because it didn't fit the current conditions. So they had to make a new lift plan. When they made a new lift plan, people involved with it were the general contractor was there. Burns Construction or Burns whatever, and JC Way Mechanical, which owned the air conditioning unit that was being lifted, and then TNT. TNT was the crane operator that was going to lift it. So when they did the JSA, all of them were involved in it. They were all in the same meeting talking about the lift and what was going to happen. And they went through their checklist. All of them did. So everybody authorized the lift at that meeting. Everybody at that meeting authorized the lift. Not only that, like they said before, when the lift was being performed, anybody on that site could have shut it down if there was a problem. Anybody. They were all authorized to stop it if they saw a problem. And nobody did. So it wasn't. So we're gonna hear about the wins later. The wins are not a big deal. They just weren't.
Definitely pretty close of, you know, you're gonna throw your life away. You keep that up, you know. Hey, you don't get together, and you're gonna lose your time. You're gonna lose a lot of time. You're gonna fall behind. And I was young, kind
Dan,
of
I'm
coming
so
over my
sorry.
head because, you're a teenager. You got a lot of time, but I quickly learned, thanks to his direction and his scolding.
It's like when Fozzie 3D prints. All of them have to sign off on what he's about to print. And if it changes, then they have to have a new meeting for him to print.
That I needed. But I never, of all the times I did wrong or messed up, never got to that kind of point where he was that mad at me.
Would you say that would be unusual? For him to respond like that, or at least what we saw in those notes, that was not a normal thing.
No, it's not like he was every day. He was yelling at people like that, and I think that's pretty well known. That to push him to that point on the job site. I mean, the whole time I worked for him, never got to that point.
Yes, stop.
I'm gonna have to object to speculation. He wasn't in the mindset of his father at the time that he's describing. I'm objecting to speculation.
Okay.
We just focus on your.
Oh, how hard is that? How hard is that for her? He's the victim's son, and he's talking about his dad. And she had to stand up and object. And she has to keep standing up and keep objecting. That must be terribly hard.
Your personal experience with him.
Yes.
Yes.
How about what you think? Because
Yes, he
my
does.
question was it unusual for him, without talking about the dog, was it unusual for him to scream and holler and curse at people? Is that an unusual event?
Not, unusual. And he wasn't somebody who screamed and yelled unless it was somebody needed to pay attention. They needed to wake up. They needed to
I scream and
focus.
yell at my
They
kids
needed
all the time.
to get it together. And he would speak up.
I'm sorry. I want to look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 2, and let's go over to picture number 20. This is an evidence, picture 20. Picture number 20. There we go. Who is this in this picture?
That's my father, David LaRue.
Whose vehicle is that?
That is his car. That's a 1999 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am.
That's something that was important to him.
Yes, he got that car. He worked so hard for that car. He saved up. We looked at a lot of them, and he was pretty decided on one because it came out in '98, and when he talked about this one, I think about 2006 or 7. And we got it with 70,000 miles on it. And he drove that thing to work to the day he got killed. He put over 200,000 miles on that car. And me and him kept it going. We needed a couple rear ends. Obviously, all the maintenance we did ourselves. Anything it needed, we got to keep it going because he had to go to work.
That was important to him.
Oh yeah, without a car, he was working in Galveston for many years.
Hi,
And
Terry.
then these last 6 years, he's on the road in San Antonio. That's a big drive. Without a vehicle, a reliable vehicle, you can't make it to work. And so that was number one thing. And that was one of our things that we bonded on, was we gotta keep these cars going, because he's gotta go to work. He didn't have time to put it in the shop. We gotta go to work on Monday. So he'd come on home on the weekends, and whatever it needed, we'd get after it. And throughout the time of him having it, he replaced the AC system on it himself. I wasn't actually around for that one. And so him just putting so many miles on that car, that's something we did almost every weekend. Checked over the car, try to find something to do just to make sure he could make it to work.
I noticed the,
Mine is a 64 and a half Mustang.
he has short hair.
Yes, sir.
It's a little different than you.
Yes, sir.
What were his thoughts about how you kept your hair?
Oh, he loved my long hair. My dad actually had long hair for a long time when he was younger. He had long hair, and as he got older and moved up in his career and his job, becoming foreman and such, he had to keep a clean cut, shave in, and
Did he give you any grief about the fact that you keep some long hair there?
oh, not at all. He thought it was awesome. He thought it was awesome.
I don't understand
When I got my band going,
that
first
at all.
band, I started getting pictures.
Please, yes.
Objection again. These questions call for a narrative answer. I request that Mr. Busby's questions be limited, and that Zachary's responses are limited as well. His responses call for narrative.
I'll sustain the objection.
My first car was a Mustang. I dropped a 302 in it. It was awesome.
The question was, how did your dad think about your hair? Which was just a very specific question. Can you answer that question?
He thought it was awesome.
Thank you. You mentioned a band that you had. Did he support your endeavors in having bands?
He sure did.
Explain, please.
My dad being such a big music fan, he thought it was the coolest thing that his son was able to put together his own original music, his own music artistry, and have something that I could put in his hand to listen to on a stereo.
Did he like your music?
He did.
What kind of music did you play?
I'm gonna try
I
to
play
find a
rock
picture
and
of
roll. I play metal.
my husband
I can
picked. Hold on.
do R&B. But my music artistry that I created and I was able to put in his hand and listen to is I play the keyboard synthesizer. And it's just all me on the keyboard. And it's music that is so one of a kind. And he really thought that was just the coolest thing, that his son makes music like nobody else. And that he was a part of making that happen for him. He helped.
How did he help?
He helped first off by hearing what my dream is and what my goals are. And I told him I wanted to make and produce my own music. And he loved that. He approved. And as I found my way to getting and making that, which wasn't very conventional, to start
That.
using the keyboard synthesizer, recording
That.
it all myself and just
I
being
should have divorced him then.
agency all on my own. He thought that was the coolest thing. And
Did he
he,
offer insights or input?
oh yes. When I started producing my music, he was the first person I took it to listen to on stereo. And he would listen to it and he would give me critique. He was able to hear how the music's coming at his feet.
Give him time, Terry. We don't know if he's gonna change his mind. Give him time. You know how judges are. They're finicky.
Years, and give me feedback on what I could do to make it sound better. 'Cause he had such great ears. for music and what we, and I say we because we share the same taste, what we think is good music. So he was he's the first person he's the first person I said I put thanks in when I made my first album. Right.
She's standing up and objecting when he's starting to cry. No, no, jury's not gonna like that one.
Right at the top.
What's your objection?
Same objection, Your Honor, regarding narrative.
And Mr. Zachary?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear the judge?
Yeah.
Okay. And we want to just focus on the question. They have an issue with, like, don't go off on the narratives, I'll say, okay?
Okay, sorry.
You mentioned do you call it an album or what did you,
Yes, sir.
and you said your first person you thanked was whom?
My father.
What, you mentioned he's your business partner. What did you mean by that?
Well, besides doing music,
Bill,
I'm a master
can you explain?
mechanic.
What do you mean by master mechanic?
I've been fixing cars for over 25 years. I started with my father fixing our cars. And I took my first job on doing car repair, performance installation when I was 15. I installed an intake for one of my friends and he paid me $50. And when I got into my 20s, I decided I wanted to open up my own business doing car repair. And I rented a 5,000 square foot warehouse. And he was my business partner because he 100% supported that and he helped out.
At the warehouse?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to interrupt you periodically so we don't run afoul of these narrative objections.
Objection, Your Honor, to the sidebar.
Sustain, please
Thank you.
stop the sidebar. You can go to the next question.
And so with regard to this warehouse and fixing cars, what was his role in that?
Well, he worked during the day as a pipe fitter, but when he'd get off work, the first thing he would call and ask, he said, hey, we need anything? You need anything? And of course, I'm fixing lots of cars. I had the shop full of cars. And I said, yeah, but I need an alternator or I need a battery. He said, okay, I'll pick it up. I'll be there soon.
Would y'all work in the shop at night?
Yes, sir.
How late would y'all work?
Until midnight sometime, maybe even a little later, depending on how hard of a job we were doing.
Was he as good as fixing cars as were you?
Yes.
You mentioned you said you're a master mechanic. Who decides that you're a master mechanic?
Well, I'm self-proclaimed and self-taught, but in my experience and what I've been able to do for people and in fixing cars from front to back and every aspect of what it is to repair, modify cars, that makes me a master of fixing cars and modifying them.
Okay, you talked about fixing cars, music, working around the house. What were some other hobbies that you shared with your father?
A big part of doing cars and music at the level that we do is shopping. And if you wanted to buy everything new, it's going to take a long time to build up what we built. So we were big time thrift bargain shoppers. We were always looking for good deals on Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay. And that was a big part of our relationship was what is the next thing we need? And then looking for it and sharing. That was a big part of our communication in between our R&R time.
And let's talk about R&R time. When you weren't fixing cars or working around the house, or he wasn't off at work, what were some things y'all did for additional fun, I should say?
Well, my dad, he'd get off on work on the weekends. He'd get his rest and we'd get up. We weren't working on something. we love to get the barbecue going. He'd get the food going. And we'd eat, and we were movie buffs. We love watching movies, old and new, and that was always something fun. If we find here, he put it on. He was a big Steven Seagal fan, and I'd sit there. I'm not a fan of those movies, but I'd sit there and watch them with him. So watching movies and cooking, barbecuing
Where we got to do the barbecue.
in the backyard.
Who was in charge of the barbecue grill?
We would share. Sometimes he would jump on it, and he wanted to cook some ribs. And other times, hey Zach, cook us some steaks. And so we would take turns, and we really enjoyed doing those things for each other. And that's something I miss incredibly.
Y'all do any barbecue in the back anymore?
No,
Why not?
I just
Hold
can't.
on 1 second, I'm sorry. Can you turn the chair this way for me? I just want to make sure you see her. All right, okay. I can just. Turn it back. Thank you. Apologies, technical difficulties.
Same.
All right, that's great. Thank you. You can proceed. Thank you.
All right, in addition to doing movies and barbecue, what else did y'all do for, y'all go any trips, travel, anything like that?
Unfortunately, with his work schedule and how taxing and draining that was, he really didn't travel and go on trips. He couldn't detach enough from work to go on a vacation. He never got to have a vacation, really. He there wasn't enough time. He had to work. There's so much to get done. And so the most we got out of the house going to the grocery store. And that was always, I love doing that with him because he liked to go up and down every aisle
Why would he go up and down every aisle?
to see what's on sale and what's marked down. And me and him would get a kick out of that every time we find something that's slash 50% off of our, hey, look, it's on sale. Sweet. Oh man, let's get a couple of them.
Y'all had fun doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, we had fun saving money, rubbing pennies together. Really enjoyed it. I learned that from me. I thoroughly love a good deal. And I got that from him.
Do you have any particular sayings that he would always say that when you hear him remind you of him?
When we find something cool or we're doing something and he did something really good, he'd go bam. And then we'd be knocking stuff out. And then I'd do something. I'd say, hey, let's do like this, do like this. And his reply would be, bam.
That's his mother. I mean, his wife. That's okay. The guy on the stand, that's his mother right here. You can hear crying. She's the wife of the deceased.
Oh, man. Another one of his things that is instilled. Piss poor performance, piss poor results. What's his number one? One of his life mottos, I think. He never let me stop. He never would. He got to a point he didn't have to remind me. But when we would talk about getting stuff done and talk about other people doing stuff or whatever, and why did it happen that way?
That's what he would say.
Yes, sir.
What, as far as his attitude with life, what was his attitude with regard to just embracing life?
He, what I saw and felt and what I heard from him was anything could be fixed except death. Car's broke. Get out there and fix it. Relationship not going good with the girl. Keep going. The job is a hard job we gotta do. It's a lot of work. We gotta do it. That's what he always said. When the going gets rough, we gotta keep going.
What do you miss the most about him?
Everything. Everything about him. Everything that he was. Everything that he did. I miss just seeing him. I miss him thinking about me.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Like when he'd send me a text message, it'd be a guitar amp in a pawn shop, or he'd show me some car parts for one of my cars. He was thinking about us all the time, and he was thinking about me in those kind of moments.
He would be out of town, working in San Antonio. How often would you correspond with him?
Every day, at least with one kind of message or another, or one phone call a day at the least. And it'd be, hey, how's it going? I'm working. So I just got off work. I made this pawn shop. See what you think. I said, all right, I'll be looking out for your messages. I'll be looking.
Y'all exchange texts as well, David?
Yes, sir.
And when he was home here in the Houston area, how often would y'all be together?
In the last couple of years, with him working out of town, I gave him his rest. He'd get his rest, and then I'd really give him and my mom all the space they needed and time so they could spend time together. And then he'd start looking for me. Hey, where you at? What's going on? Or I'd come home and say, hey, how's it going? Well, what are we gonna do? We'd figure something out. Oh, I think my car started leaking again. Uh-oh. All right, let's get out there. I thought, I'll get out there. And I'd get out there and get it going, get the car jacked up and all that good stuff, get the garage open, and then he'd come out and start assisting me. As you got, working out of town was so draining on him. I mean, it's not a fun thing to do, living out of a hotel and only being home on the weekends and having so much to do that he wanted to do. There's only so much you can do for somebody because they're not home taking care of the house. But, he was a person. He wasn't a robot. He wasn't just some worker robot thing that didn't have dreams and hopes and goals. So to come home and have extremely limited time and then have to do things like, oh, the car's leaking. He's got to drive back to work on Monday. We still had stress there.
I want to focus our attention on,
Lady,
from
don't
your
sit
point of
down,
view, the
object.
relationship you
Come
had with your
on.
mom. Was it a good relationship?
Yes, they loved each other till death do them part and beyond.
Were they very close?
Oh, yes. They they would do everything together happily, and if one of them wasn't feeling good, that didn't stop things from getting done. They would handle it.
Was he supportive of your brother?
Yes, incredibly all the time. Incredible as he supported my careers and my jobs and what I needed, he did the same for her.
Give me some examples, please.
Like growing up, one of her car had an issue. The engine's making noise, something like that. We just needed to get out of it. He wouldn't hesitate to get her a different car, get her a new car, so she can go to work. And even if we didn't really have the money for it or whatever it took, he'd make sure that she was able to work, contribute, and be happy at the end of the day.
Let's focus more, instead of like buying her stuff or doing stuff for her. I wonder if we can focus on emotionally what he provided to her. From your point of view.
Safety, security, companionship, and purpose.
You're very close.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see him fight?
That's with all relationships. You don't see eye to eye. You're gonna have discussions, maybe even arguments. But at the end of the day, they were together through thick and thin.
Did he provide you an example of how to be a husband?
Most definitely.
Explain that, please.
When even from what I see and I understand of marriages and relationships is you devote yourself to someone.
All right, guys. We're going to pick back up with his testimony tomorrow. I swear this other lawyer is going to get up. Unfortunately, I ran out of space on my computer, which I fixed. I bought an 8 terabyte external hard drive. So this never, ever, ever happens again. And some of the things that I missed were the judge yelling at this guy saying he's not allowed to pass this point. Oh, sugar. Is tomorrow Saturday? I'm starting to hate Wednesdays and Saturdays. You know that? I don't like it. I love it. And then I don't like it. But I love it. But I don't like it. Yeah, tomorrow's Saturday, so I will see you on Sunday, guys. I wish I could quit that job. You know that? I wish I could just do this. If I could just do this, I would do it 10 hours a day if I could. But I can't. I have to work. That sucks. You just ruined my day. I'm just kidding. Crystal, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. I will see you all on Sunday. OJ is going to start in about, I know I have it for 5 minutes away, but I need to run out real quick, 2 minutes away and back, and then I'll start OJ. I'll be back in a minute. And I'll see y'all there. Have a great day. Thanks for coming out. Don't forget to check the wind when you go outside. Just lick your finger and hold it up in the air. Just do that for me, okay? All right. Especially you, CJ, because you say you're top heavy. Make sure you check that wind. Love you all so much. Thanks for coming out. And thanks for the gifted memberships. I appreciate it. Bye, guys. Have a good day.
Got these lights that close digital dreams. Through the screen, her blue eyes gleam. Wicked humor, sharp as a knife. Her street sparks electric light. laughter feels just right. Even when my world turns gray, with a giggle, she lights the way. Kathy's life.